everyone. This is David Stark from WatcherPass.com, your website for movie reviews, interviews, and recommendations. Today, I'm joined by Gabriela Cowperthwaite, the director of Our Friend. We're going to talk to Gabriela in just a second, but first, let's check out the trailer. And while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. It helps me out a lot. Thank you.
Dave was my best friend.
Go, Dane! I'm so scared right now.
Most of the time, I felt like they were married, and I was just a bystander.
Hey, buddy, it's Matt. Want to see how you were doing.
Hi, Lulu. Hi, Fartface. Mom. Hi, girls. Hi, Fruit Loop.
Hey, how you feeling?
Tired. Thanks for being here.
I will miss it.
Can we talk for a minute, Matt? It's going to get very hard. You're going to see things from Nicole never seen before.
You don't need to do this alone. I can come help you get to the other side of this.
I'd love to have her.
How long do you think you'll be up there?
I'm hoping just a couple weeks. Just want to make sure Matt gets back on his feet.
You've been gone for 3 months now. I thought that you were going to be gone for a couple weeks. What changed?
I got here and I saw that one person can't do this job.
I'm still a valid person,
Yeah, you
Matt.
are, but you gotta take it.
Don't get out there!
I don't think you're this upset because I'm late.
What's happening to Mom?
I think you're mad because Mom is sick. Why are you so hard on your dad?
Mother, you've broken my body. I saw you smile.
You know, you don't have to stick around. Nicole's my best friend, too. I'm happy to be here.
Hey, Gabriela.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm so sorry I'm late. It's just,
no worries. Just happy to be able to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining me.
oh my God, my pleasure.
This is Gabriela Calperthwaite. I Googled that a couple times to try to figure it out. Gabriela Cowperthwaite, the director of Our Friend and also of Blackfish, which you may have seen. That was a fantastic documentary. So Our Friend just got released January 22nd, 2021. My first question, and I think I wrote this in my review, if this was released last year, it would have definitely been in my top 10. So, was there a push to try to get this out a little earlier to try to hit Oscars, or is it, did this timing just kind of work in such a way that this was kind of always going to be the release date because you wanted to kind of hit that new year, fresh, happy vibe kind of thought?
Yeah, all the smart people do make those decisions. I just know that the idea of going and seeing going to a movie theater was really tricky, obviously for most of last year, and still is in some way, shape, or form. But I think looking for sometimes just looking for sort of a fresh spot where you're not sure, there's not a lot going on, it's not a glutted kind of crowded field. And also I think fresh year, hopeful, new themes, maybe themes of love and friendship, maybe maybe that goes a little more hand in hand with 2021.
Maybe this is a non-political blog, but I'm sure that people have thought that maybe 2021 will have a different tenor than 2020.
Right. It's the light shines a little brighter, maybe. Yes. I don't know.
And it's kind of strange that this this film, it's so real and raw and depressing, but also like you said, so hopeful and full of love and friendship. It's such an interesting combination of emotions that kind of are evoked in this film. I guess the first question, it's based on a true story. Had you seen the true story? Had you read the article before the script kind of came to you, or?
Yeah, I had been a big fan of that article and had posted it on social media and all this stuff, and had been not even envisioning it in a film world. It was just this beautiful article. It won the National Magazine Award. So I saw it in 2015 or whatnot, and then years later got the script and was like, oh my gosh, no, I know this, and wanted to make sure that Matt Teague knew that I liked it back then. So I took a screen grab of what I had posted back then about it, just to be I'm not that Hollywoody person who's just blowing hot air, because now it's a shiny script, and I liked it back then, Anyway, so I was a fan. I had been a fan.
Yeah, I think probably most people, after they watch the film, if they're not, I wasn't familiar with the story, they're going to go read that article. And, one thing that struck me is just kind of how true to the article, the script and then your film were. I mean, I think there were a few minor liberties taken, maybe some of the timeline, but overall, I mean, a lot of the pertinent details and some of the, funny moments and depressing moments from the article made it, essentially word for word in the
Yeah.
script. Was that, Was that a consequence of the script? Was that kind of you wanted to make sure this was an accurate vision, some combination of the two?
Yeah, I mean, I think we wanted it for sure to be as close to the spirit of, the original piece. That said, you're playing three-dimensional chess, and suddenly, and so there's like things that I think that are in the script that are visceral, and maybe sort of things about her, the physical side of her ailment, and things like that are easier to read than they are to see, and it's a whole different movie if you show that the level of that kind of stuff. And so I think that we pulled back, Brad did in the script, and then I was completely behind that as well, just because I think the emotion, in some ways, the peaks of the emotion that you feel are sometimes so unbearable in and of themselves, that you don't really need much more, to add insult to injury, literally, and go into that world of showing kind of physical sides of ailments and anything. I felt like not going in that direction. So that was one kind of distinction. Another distinction is Nicole in the article is she's kind of the patient in question. She's the sick person, and they refer to her, Matt and Dane are experiencing her as that. In the script, Brad made her it's a three-hander. He made her a real person. And I wanted to give her a point of view about her own death and a sense of agency about like that. And so she is someone who I also felt obligated to respect, and to tell whose story I wanted to kind of get out there in the right way. And so it ended up being different in that way. It's about three people rather than about two people thinking about, someone they love.
Yeah, no, definitely. When I read the article, some of the, as you said, more physical aspects of Nicole's cancer were, it was important to write, but I agree, like it would have made it kind of a different film. As it stands, the film is, really more about the emotional aspect that this horrible physical disease is taking on, on Nicole and this unconventional family that forms around them.
Exactly.
One thing that I generally don't like this, but I loved it in this film. The story was kind of told out of order, and I wrote in my review that I think that this lets you, it doesn't become almost a death march is the wrong word, but it doesn't come like a slog to the inevitable conclusion. It lets you kind of jump back and forth and see, how this life has changed, and you can have moments of joy and levity and healthy moments in the middle of this diagnosis. Was that how the script was written, or is that something that you kind of came to as you were, creating this film?
Yeah, it's definitely how the script was written. I think you said it perfectly. And I think that Brad wrote it with this in mind. You feel like with scripts where you're kind of like chronologically marching forward, you are descending. And I think that we felt that a little bit when we would think about doing it the nonlinear way. And yeah, so it's like, and also it's sort of like life, when you think about how you are in your day and how you live your day, you're not like, one day doesn't like foretell the other day, the next day, and then that day leads to the next day. Like, it's not, you don't live like that, right? You're either in the moment, oftentimes you're living in memories, especially when you're grieving and experiencing something like what Matt was with Nicole. You're living in like the joyful memory, or you're having, or you're thinking about, like the not so happy memory. You know what I mean? Like, we live in the future, we live in the past, we're sometimes in the present. Like, and so to me, that just felt more like life, like this roller coaster of life, and it's about what it means to say goodbye, in that way, rather than we are waiting for each day to get worse and worse and worse and worse until she's gone, which didn't feel like truly the way to go with this narrative at all.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's kind of how the article felt, as it was kind of, you were approaching this inevitable conclusion, and you kind of, knew what was happening, and you kind of you descended into Matt's mind, which is, I think, probably what he was going through. But I think for as you said, for the film, I think it makes sense. When you were filming this, did you film it, out of order, or did you kind of film it chronologically and then cut around to make it easier for, actors to age and their looks to kind of stay consistent and whatnot.
You always wish, and you always like for your actors and your performances, you wish you could do it chronologically. You wish you could just sort of like give them the tough scenes to do later. But oftentimes it's location based. It's like where you are at the moment, and then we got to go to that location and rent that area and stuff. And so it's somewhat out of order, but I did manage, working with a great assistant director, Sean Vaughter, to like make sure it was in general, some of the youthful and the younger stuff happened a bit earlier, and some of the harder stuff we waited for. And it's just like you want your cast to get to know each other. I wanted the girls to feel comfortable with Casey and Dakota and Jason, the girls to sort of get to know them as a little family. And then your scenes are just more natural in that way. So we did it to an extent, but not as disciplined as I would have loved.
I think it came together perfectly fine. So whatever you did was perfect.
Thank you.
Speaking of the cast is it's just fantastic. Like, I loved everyone in the cast, from, Casey to Jason to Dakota, even the girls, like, I'd seen them before in a lot of films. Like, where did you find them? And I guess who was kind of the first to get on board? They all did a fantastic job, although Jason Segel was just kind of transformative. Like, I didn't even recognize him sometimes with some of his mannerisms.
I know. It's so funny. So he was first. So he was the one that initially I knew when I read the script, I wanted Dane to be Jason, because Jason can do Forgetting Sarah Marshall and end of the tour. You know what I mean?
Yes, sort of end of the tour was right? One of my favorites. Yeah,
it's just such a beautiful performance there, and it was just like I want him to come in and light up the room. Like that's what he was doing for Matt, and that's this beautiful thing. And yet, like, there's this thing he does where you're seeing all the stuff behind the eyes and all the layers, and it's 1,000 miles deep, and so like that's also Dane, and so someone being able to walk that trapeze, tightrope, or I think you swing on a trapeze, someone having to kind of like thread that needle was super important for that. And I've seen him do all of it. I've never seen him do all of it in one film. So that was the challenge, of like when to pull back and when to go big and when to go small. Like that was kind of the dance that I think we did, but I knew he had it all in him.
Yeah, no, definitely. And he has the extra challenge here because you're always wondering, what are his intentions in this family and what are his intentions with his relationship. And I think he had such a great way of, it always stayed pure, but it kind of, you couldn't sometimes tell. Like, I think that was part of the mystery of this film is, why is he here and why is he uprooting his life? And then, as you watch it, you find out why and why this was so important to him and, what this family meant to him. But I just loved kind of that unknown aspect that he brought, which I think, is just a testament to his acting and the character.
Yeah. And I think people think like it's so unique to have a man, like being vulnerable and being so there for a family and being so loving, like they're like, oh, he must not have a life of his own, like he must not, and so there's a little bit of you do see that he doesn't have drive and doesn't quite know what he wants out of life, but like my hope is that people start seeing it as a strength, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And this thing like that's acknowledged at the end by Matt, like like, oh my gosh, when you see like Matt comes out the other end and is able to reflect back and be like, oh my gosh, like when I fell to my death, essentially, you were there to break my fall, and like having like that to me is this beautiful acknowledgement of like, okay, life is beautiful, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can maybe see it that way at some point, not immediately, but you maybe eventually you do see it that way. Yeah.
And so your filmography is more kind of on the documentary side. And what struck me about this film was it is very kind of true to life and true to what happened. Did that appeal to you kind of to make that jump into drama, or was this, have you just always been kind of hoping to get into a drama and this script just spoke to you because you knew the story so well?
Yeah. I mean, I think, I did documentary because I loved filmmaking and like love stories, love real stories, but like I also, you don't have to ask permission to do a documentary in the way that you do a feature, like you just can just go do it, and like grab a camera and grab a great cinematographer and like sort of be like, hey, you want to just go shoot this thing with me? We're not gonna make any money really, but it's a pretty cool story, So I think that's how I kind of came into that field a little bit. But, and I would have loved to have gone the narrative route. I don't know, like it was like I grew up in a place where I didn't know any filmmaker, I was in Denver, Colorado, and like there weren't like mentors. I didn't have like a fancy connected family. I wasn't from LA. So I didn't know, and I didn't really go to film school. Like I didn't do any of the things that you're supposed to do. And so like I think that after Blackfish came out, which was my documentary about, killer whale, SeaWorld situation, and basically that at that point, because that felt like a bit like a narrative, I wanted it to feel like a thriller, like a conventional thriller, that brought people kind of like showing me scripts and stuff. So it was sort of like this portal of entry into the narrative world. So yeah, it was kind of a unlikely way of backing into it. But I'd always wanted to do it, just I wouldn't have ever known how,
Now that you're in, hopefully stay there, keep making them. This is awesome. I know you have limited time, so I'd like to move it. I call it the lightning round. It's just lightweight kind of questions about the film and kind of to see how your experiences map onto the film. With this subject matter, it makes it difficult to make lightweight questions, but I did my best, so we'll see.
Cool.
Have you ever tried stand-up comedy?
Oh, no way. No way. No way. I mean, definitely like try and be funny in front of people. Yeah. And that doesn't always work that well. So I would like never like do it like planned.
Okay.
Yeah, like no way.
Yeah. What is the longest amount of time you stayed at a friend's house?
Stayed at a friend's house?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a great question. Maybe a couple weeks, like in high school. I had a really good friend who lived like a block away, and I just would camp out there kind of. Yeah, I don't know like never, maybe going home to get like a change of PJs or underwear or something and go right back. I don't know. Yeah.
Kind of like what Dane did. So perfect. Except,
yeah, exactly.
Probably more fun, less draining. So
no, right, less drama.
Have you ever dyed your hair just a crazy color?
Yeah, I had a shaved and like burgundy, kind of a burgundy thing going on for a chunk of time there. But yeah, like full on like shaved, like definitely that going. You call it punk rock now. It was like new wave. It was new wave.
I can see it. That sounds fun. And the next question was going to be, have you ever had a mohawk? Because in the story, Dane got a mohawk. So that I think that fits. That works perfectly.
Kind of did. Yeah, I gelled it up to look like that for sure.
Where would you go to kind of clear your head if you had to, think about life or try to get your priorities straight?
Probably the high desert, up in Lone Pine. That's kind of a place we go sometimes. I also grew up in Colorado, so there's a place we go as a family there, like kind of a ranch, a non-working ranch there, and there's a horse pasture. We call it the horse pasture. Mm-hmm. That's a place I love to go. Yeah. Perfect. And just be in nature.
Perfect. Have you ever marched in a parade, been a grand marshal or a marshal in the parade, anything like that?
I did the Million Woman March. Does that count?
That counts. Like, yeah, that works.
Right? 2016, dude. 2017, whatever that was.
That's like 55 years ago, right? That just feels like so long ago.
It feels so long ago. Thank goodness.
And I guess what would be one thing that you would have on your bucket list that you'd want to get done?
It's definitely skydiving. Yeah. I actually reached out to Casey, and Casey and I were going to do Casey Affleck with Matt Teague, who played Matt Teague, and like we talked about doing it, and I introduced it, and I was like, should we do this? And he was like, heck yeah. And then he followed up like 3 times, and I never wrote back about it. I was like,
oh, you should do that. I mean, skydiving's like the perfect social distance. Like, it's the most social distancing you could. I mean, I guess you have your instructor, but as long as they're safe, it's the most social distance you could be. So
like a billion feet away from the world.
Yeah, like, exactly. Super safe. And kind of in a hazmat suit. You're right. Yeah, you're fully. Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing during a pandemic. And so now that the film is out, I'm sure you have some other projects on, or maybe you're just kind of just enjoying, basking in the glow of the film and enjoying some rest. But I guess what's next for you on, in your career?
Yeah, no, I didn't I didn't stay still too long. So I'm working on 2 documentaries, and I'm right now I'm in a production office working on a space thriller
Ooh.
that's not based on a real story.
All
So,
right.
I know it's cutting teeth on something completely new.
Perfect. I can't wait to see any of them. That they all sound. I think the space thriller is probably going to be the one I want to see the most. But anything that comes out from you, I'll happily watch. So, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for making this film. Our Friend is available in theaters if you're comfortable going to the theaters, but it's also available digitally if you wanted to just rent it, buy it, watch it at home, see it a couple times. It's just powerful, poignant, and painful, and it's just a fantastic film.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was Gabriela Cowperthwaite talking about Our Friend. Our Friend is available digitally on pretty much every platform, so you can rent it, buy it, check it out. It's a really powerful film. It's a really poignant drama, and I really don't think it should be missed. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot and make sure all of my new interviews go straight to you. And as always, please go to watcherpass.com for all your movie reviews, interviews, and recommendations. Thank you.